Welcome to the conversation and questions about the 2019 summer internship opportunity with the Idaho Commission for Libraries. This recording is an opportunity to work through the purpose and outcomes of the grant opportunity, as well as look at the application itself and drill down on what we're looking for in those applications and answer any questions that might come up. Hopefully, if you're on the Zoom, you can see my screen, which is just the web page where the grant is described, and we'll work through that and then look at the application and the online form itself and go from there. If you do have questions, just raise a hand or type in the chat box. So the main focus of the grant is to provide opportunity for diverse skilled workforce by encouraging folks who might not otherwise venture into the library or consider work in the library as an opportunity for this summer with this pilot grant project. So with $1,000, the intern, the library, the partnership mentor, the mentor, and the community partner will work through a project with that intern for the summer. So there's some flexibility in how that plays out, and part of the application process will be telling us your design to both recruit that intern as well as develop an intern-focused project for him or her this summer. So there's a lot of text on the page regarding the process, regarding kind of the intended outcomes with the grant opportunity. And the primary one is to just give an opportunity for a library person to explore what it means to work in a library, as well as to connect with partnerships around in the community, develop a project where the intern can really get really deep into a project. And in terms of recruiting, I would have a question about how that recruiting, given that there might be an ideal candidate already in mind, and for sure, it would be helpful to just know that up front in the application process, meaning there's a candidate already identified through whatever channels, but to hear how that candidate will then fit into designing the project, working with a local partner, the evaluation portion. So yes, in answer to the question of still need to fill out an application, even if there's a candidate already in mind, please do fill out the application. It's a good question, though. So again, the grant is for public libraries in Idaho, and the monies are distributed to each library to spend how is best for the opportunity with the intern and the community partner. Some of the monies may be spent on some administrative work, of course, but a majority of it would go to the intern for sure for the stipend. Key thing is being a project-based experience where that's tailored to the intern, working with the mentor, the activities in the library, and a community partner. And having those community partners in place is a bonus already, of course. But if that's something that's desired in the library to pursue partnerships, then this would be a great opportunity to leverage those funds and get out in the community and find a partner to work with the intern. Also, high priority is the mentoring aspect through the process by the staff at the library to work really closely one-on-one with that intern in having regular reviews and updates and check-ins, as well as then kind of reporting back and sharing with the community at large the benefits, the values, the challenges of working with that intern and how the intern progressed and grew over the course of the experience. That's an important aspect. And so the grants themselves, the applications rather, will be evaluated based on what goes into each of the questions, and we'll take a look real quick at the questions themselves and the various weights on some of the inputs, so that the evaluation team can look at those and then select the grantees. There's a question around the partnership aspect of cultivating new partnerships or using existing ones, and both are completely fine. If there's an existing partner that there's a great project already in mind, or the start of one, or the enthusiasm is already there, then definitely pursue that and build that out. On the other hand, even if there is an existing partner or partners, maybe there is a desire to craft a new one, and these monies might be an incentive working with an intern to pursue those and go out in the community and start something new. So either is fine, either an existing partnership that can be nurtured and grown, taken to the next step, or a brand new one. So the grant application is an online form, and we'll just need them in by March 31 so we can review those. And I'm just going to pop over to that form online right now. So after kind of telling us who you are and which library you're coming from, just a number of questions for you to dig into, spend some time evaluating and reviewing those questions before submitting the application. So copy and paste these into a Word doc and type up responses, for instance. So the first one is about the recruitment strategy. So if there's already a strong candidate in mind, let us know about that for sure. If there's not, then what are the methods that you'll use to make sure the announcement, the advertisement is distributed widely to a broad range of potential interns that represent the diversity of your community, and whatever that context is, that person then would be representative of that diversity. So where can you advertise, with whom can you connect and get the word out there so that these folks that are in the age of a late high school student or early college student, not necessarily enrolled in school, but of that age group, how would you kind of identify them and find them? There's a question about the word limit and on the text boxes, and it's really large. And I don't think there is a word limit. But before you submit, what I'll do is confirm what that is. And if it's different than really large or unlimited, then I'll share that out. Thanks for that question. So anyway, back to the recruiting side of things. Let us know your strategy. So be detailed about how you'll get the word out and help identify so that those folks in your community who are representing that community can get the word and apply. Secondly, on the developing the project, how will that come about? Because there are several stakeholders, right? The mentor, the intern, and the partner. Given that this is aspirational, there may or may not be a specific project in mind already because the intern would want to contribute to the formulation of the project. What's the general strategy at this point in time to identify that project and to see it through to completion in terms of getting everybody's input? What are some potential projects? What are the needs at your library already? What are some partnerships you'd like to either start or grow? So identifying all those in as much detail as possible and your strategy for doing a collaborative development of a project would be ideal. And also, there's a little note there on that question about during the interview process, what would be some strategic ways to incorporate even the applicants as they're interviewing their ideas on projects. So, again, feel free to ask questions about these elements of the application as we're going through it, either in chat or unmute yourself and just kind of holler out too. The third question there about existing partnerships, just give us an idea of what's transpired so far, these kind of detailed connections with a local nonprofit or another state agency, and how those partnerships are partnerships where there's mutual collaboration and working together in an active way. So the existing ones, as well as some of the aspirational aspects of partnership moving forward for sure. So just to give us a sense of what's working well or what you'd like to see transpire in your library and in your community related to the partnerships. On the element of the training and mentoring part, tell us a little bit about how that takes place currently in your library, ways that new hires or interns or volunteers are mentored and equipped and trained in library work, as well as a little bit about aspirational ideas you might have moving forward, particularly with an intern of this nature. What kind of activities would you do? How would you communicate and see that goals are set and whatnot? So the intern is also part of that process in a real integrated and intentional way. So someone's asking about, what kinds of projects on the application, or sorry, the web page describing the grant opportunity itself. We listed a few ideas of activities of reading outreach or a digital literacy coach for youth, or some summer STEM activities or community arts programs. So those are suggestions, not an exhaustive list, of course, of potential activities. So a partnership might be on the community arts program, working with the local arts organization, or an art teacher at a school who's off for the summer, et cetera, and wants to engage in some way. So a partnership of sharing, working towards a common goal, identifying what that common goal is and how that's going to benefit your community. What are the needs in the community around that art, for instance, or even the digital literacy coach for youth. Okay, who is working on the teaching aspect, the kind of educational aspect of digital literacy? Maybe it's a teacher at a school or some other individual with that aspiration. So kind of connecting and sharing in the work, and designing an activity with some intended outcomes and ways to kind of assess that along the way of what kind of impact is being made. Maybe the summer reading outreach, there's ways to work with local kind of out of school camps or things like that. So finding those partners that are tied to the activity itself and the needs of the community. Hope that answers the question. If not, then keep typing away. We'll keep going. So moving on to kind of the evaluation, and looking back to the kind of the stated outcome of the grant opportunity of providing this experience for the intern, to really explore what it means to work in a library and potentially consider that as a career in the future. How will you know that that's been achieved? So even up front, talk about the intake, kind of the midpoint review, and the end of the experience review. What are those activities? What are those questions? What would be the desired kind of takeaways from each of those kind of check-in points? Let us know that you've given some thought to being intentional about that, because to know at the end how successful the project was, how successful the intern really got into the library work, needs some work up front. So give us an idea of how you'll kind of map that out, given the kind of the final evaluative experience. So what information you need to collect at the beginning, in the middle, and the end. So just be thoughtful about that. And as far as connecting then the outcomes of the intern project of a diverse intern, how does that support the library's mission and strategic plan? In what way are they linked and tied together? Just tell us a little bit, or give us a story of how this will enhance the library's mission, the impact on the community, and how this kind of experience for the intern and for the library would be mutually beneficial. There's a question here on indirect costs, and if this bid is confusing, then obviously talk to us, especially Jamie, who can work through the options here. I suspect most will go with C, that there's no indirect costs, etc. But again, if this is a point of question, then let us know, and you can talk about that one-on-one offline if there's some issues. And on that point in general, we're here to help, even in the application process. If after this call and explanation, you start working on the application and come across some challenges or further questions, send me an email or give me a phone call, or Jamie, and we can work through those issues with you. And further, should you be a successful applicant, it's our intention to work with you through the recruitment process, the interview process, the formulation of the project, et cetera, to be a guide and to help and assist in any way we can in the formulation of the whole experience for the whole summer. So we want to be an asset for you and with you from here throughout. So that's the whole application in a quick nutshell. Just kind of give you a little deeper idea of the expectations around some of those questions. If there are further points of clarification that we can make, let us know now. If they come to you in a day or 3 from now, then let us know then as well. But if there are other questions for now, type them into the chat box or raise your hand or unmute yourself and let us know. So a question about how many awards. The intention right now is to do 10 awards at $1,000 each. And with the understanding that one library system, one library unit will receive a single grant, $1,000. Good question.
I just have a comment, Randy. This is Leanne.
Yeah.
I'm going to double check too with my city just to make sure that I'm in compliance. I'm just thinking, $1,000 stipend, it's a great opportunity, but to kind of stretch it out through the summer, I think I need to be mindful of how many hours I'm expecting per week in conjunction with the partner and the project. Does that make sense?
It does, in the sense of the total allocation for the intern and where that's invested in the library, outside the library, et cetera, and the whole gamut.
Yes, and just being mindful that we also have, even though it's an intern, I think we need to be mindful of hiring processes and let our cities, if we're part of a municipality, know what the opportunity is for, and just make sure that whatever we're listing is also compliant with those hiring processes.
Exactly. And in the description of the grant, we have a small phrase there of, to be determined, the $1,000 number of weeks, number of hours to be determined by the mentor, intern, and human resources, recognizing that there are conversations that need to have with the human resources aspect, whether it's the city or district, and to be in compliance and how that's allocated, et cetera. So again, we're happy to help work through that with you, but you're right on, Leanne, to take into consideration the paperwork that needs to transpire and the number of hours, number of dollars per hour, all those things.
And when should we be wrapping this up by?
The application itself or the internship itself?
The internship.
We had I'll just scroll down to the timeline. We had thought that most of them would kind of wrap up in August or September, depending on the intern's availability and situation, whether a student or not, et cetera. But earlier is fine as well. So the idea was towards the end of September that it would all be kind of concluded. That's negotiable.
Okay. Up to a point. This is Jamie talking. So this is funded with Library Service Technology Act dollars. And since those are federal funds, we have to spend them within the federal fiscal year. So we are going to hit a point in September where if you find that you're not going to be able to use all of the money, you'll have to get it back to us. And in order that we don't lose the funds and have to send them back to the federal government, we're going to need them back in time to spend them on other things. So I believe when we talked about that, early September was going to be that cutoff where the activities and spending would need to be done. So really late August is kind of what you're looking at for wrapping up in order to have all your spending done, especially if you're doing payroll on a delayed basis.
That makes
That makes sense, Leanne?
Yeah, it makes sense. I was actually thinking that it would be nice to wrap up the end of July, because I know a lot of kids that are going on to college will want to leave earlier in August rather than later, depending on when their school starts.
Yeah, so this is Jamie again. The only other thing that you need to keep in mind is with LSTA dollars, if you're having an employee or a person work enough hours that they would qualify for benefits normally, you have to include those benefits as part of the grant expenditures. So you'll just need to make sure to check with your HR that if you have an intern that you want to have them work 30 or 40 hours a week and do a bunch for you early on, you'll just need to make sure that you're in compliance with your benefits for your entity, because if they do hit that point where they need to be paid, then instead of paying your intern 10, 15, whatever dollars an hour, you would have to pay them that plus the benefits. So that lessens the amount of money you have and then the number of hours they can work.
That's a great point. I'm definitely going for part-time.
Yeah, that makes it easier. But yeah, like Randy said, it all comes down to you working with your local entities and figuring out how those hours plus wages is going to work out to your benefit.
Good question, Leanne. Thanks. Any other comments or questions? Again, we're around and can answer them later too. So.
Not to hog everyone's attention, but I really appreciate the way this is written, with the focus being on library services and the objective being to help nurture interest in this as a profession. I think that will really help with our partnership, so that then our partner doesn't think that they get them as well.
Right. Thanks for that, Leanne. There's a question about these funds being used for a new intern or an existing intern. We're open to either. Would be if the intern fits that category of representing the diversity of your community, then that works in well. Include that in the application if that's a possibility, for sure. To expand the experience of the current volunteer or current intern or current known entity. Again, just kind of include that in the application and be as detailed as possible. Good question. Well, I'll wrap it up here and thank everybody for their time. And if there are final questions, again, you can get them in right now in the next few, or later as you think about it. Thanks everybody for joining, and look forward to getting your applications and questions. Thanks.